In this video, we're going to be going through a standing calf raise on a slant board. Now, this doesn't have to be limited solely to a slant board. I like the slant board because it's going to bring us into a greater degree of dorsiflexion. It's really going to bring us into that end range. Now, this can be done with two small plates where you just set them up sort of evenly between the feet, and you're going to get a higher degree of dorsiflexion as well. You're just going to see that heel drop a lot lower than the toes, as opposed to doing a normal calf raise, say from the floor, where your heel is going to stop, but you can probably go a little bit further into the range of motion, okay? We have ourselves against the frame just so we can sort of lean forward a little bit, as opposed to kind of leaning back away from our calves and sort of going into this standing position. If we actually lean forward a little bit towards the frame, not really pushing or pulling with the frame really, I'm just using it to kind of keep my balance, making sure that the majority of the effort is coming from the ankles. But you can see this sort of straight knee position as I go up and down. So very simple motion, but there's a few key things that we want to cover on this, okay? So one of the things that we want to cover, I'll kind of show you from the back here, is probably going to be the best way to see it. The angle at which we sort of position the heels. So we can play around with the orientation of the feet for more of a kind of internally rotated hip position, so that we're targeting, say, more of the medial fibers of the gastroc, or we can position ourselves out into more of an externally rotated position with the heel, where we're probably going to target more of the lateral fibers of the gastroc. But we also want to make sure that we are getting the most out of our ankle and our foot in this position, and trying to think of what would be like the position with the ankle too. So what I'm playing around with here is the degree of sort of inversion and eversion that I have with my ankle joint, okay? And from the back here, you can see this idea of, if I am what is considered ankle eversion, where my heels are sort of closer together, that is actually going to be a much better position for when I go down into dorsiflexion. When I go down all the way onto the slant board, you're going to see here in terms of the positioning, it's going to mimic a lot more what looks like end range dorsiflexion, okay? You can see my knees are maybe a little bit closer towards each other, and you can see this sort of expansion here more on this medial side of the ankle. I can also then play with sort of a little bit more tilting out. I don't want you to think that you're entirely limited towards the degree of inversion or eversion that you can play with. Okay, so play around with these two different ways, see what gives you more feedback in terms of actually getting a deeper position, more of a stretch sensation. But as I've said there, this idea of allowing what will be the arch of the foot to kind of collapse inward, and playing around with a little bit more eversion at the ankle, where the ankles are sort of closer towards each other, that's going to feel a lot better for the bottom position. As you drive up though, you're going to feel yourself wanting to actually go out a little bit, and that's more than okay. Play around with that as well, where you actually find yourself sort of driving up and finishing with a little bit more inversion at the ankle in this top position, really locked out. And that's another important point to sort of highlight too, is how much of a lockout you're getting. It's likely a case where we're doing this with 2 feet because we're trying to maximize the positioning, whereas we maybe don't have the strength just yet to really achieve the top position of a calf raise on a single leg, okay? And if that's the case, that's okay. We're gonna build that strength and awareness over time. That's where we're gonna try and achieve that full lockout position. When I say lockout, I mean you're feeling everything contract and lock out into that top position. You might even need to give yourself a little bit of assistance from the hands, and that's perfect. Give yourself a little bit of assistance to sort of achieve that top position. And then as you slowly come down, you're eccentrically loading the tissue from a much better position, and you're going to build that strength and awareness over time. So achieve that top position, come down nice and slowly, allow the ankles to sort of drop towards each other, driving up, holding, and then assisting yourself if necessary too. So plenty of things to play around on that before we actually start adding more external load. We're going to work with our own body weight for the time being, really get the most out of it in terms of reps, get the most out of it in terms of feel and positioning. So plenty of things to work on at the moment with just this sort of basic setup, okay? If there are any questions on that movement, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. If you like the video, be sure to like it. If you think someone's going to find it valuable, then share it with them. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, where I break down a lot of these movements in a lot of detail to make sure that you're getting the most from them, be sure to subscribe to the page too. But for the moment, folks, I'll see you soon.